Hello, and welcome to Adventures with ADHD, where we shine the spotlight on fabulous neurodivergent folk. And I'm so excited because this is the first episode of season 3, and what a fantastic person to kick us off with, Michelle Allen. Thank you so much for coming today.
Oh, thank you very much. Feel very special. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you. Yes, episode 1, season 3. So, Michelle, let's start off with you telling us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I am Michelle Allen. I run a couple of businesses. I come from an education background and a kind of writing and theatre background, mixing a lot of things up, imagine. Yeah, I run two businesses, one of which is a not-for-profit called Ironclad Creative, where I am the co-founder. And that business, we work with writers and theatre makers to help them network. We offer opportunities and training, and kind of a lot of what we do is kind of, building community and getting people into the idea of like the business of making art, essentially. And then also I am a business coach, so I work under the name Infinite Upstart. I thought I just repeated my. This is the problem, naming two companies with an I. Listen, I don't know. Maybe I'm just massively about myself. I think that's what it is. But anyway, I run a coaching business which is called Infinite Upstart. And yeah, I coach people around kind of service provision and marketing and mindset, and kind of getting behind their business, getting more visible online, and kind of changing their mindset, and kind of reducing their overwhelm, essentially, around what it takes to run a business, and kind of make their business more relaxing and more a tool to help them have the life that they want, rather than kind of exchanging a 9-to-5 or corporate job for another pressurized thing. So yeah, that's my goal really with the coaching, to just help people make a business that they want.
Amazing. Yeah, and so needed because it's so easy to go from the transition from kind of the 9 to 5 and then still have that conditioning. I've got to be at my desk 9 to 5, and it's like, you don't have to. And it's
Yeah.
nice when you realize that. So amazing. And do you work with neurodivergent folk or everyone?
Everyone. So oftentimes, oftentimes I work with people who then kind of, we go, maybe they're neurodivergent, but I work with all people. I am autistic and ADHD myself, and it's kind of late diagnosis. So I understand that a lot of people are kind of not there yet, or kind of so I kind of work, essentially I work with everyone. That's the short way of saying
Yes.
that. But I think we gravitate towards people that are similar as well. So I think that a lot of the time, if you get this way of speaking that I have, then you're going to probably be maybe neurodivergent in some way, maybe
Yeah.
not, maybe
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very unique way of talking and being. So I think we find our people so often, but
Yeah.
not always.
No.
I don't want to be like, I only work with
Yeah.
neurodivergent people, because I'm sort of up for chatting to anyone. So
Yeah. So like you say, people that you can relate to and they can relate to you. Yeah.
yeah,
No,
it's all about finding a match, really. Like I do consultations with people, and I have the podcast as well. So I kind of feel like my community and the people that understand me are kind of pretty much they're not necessarily neurodivergent, but they're going to understand me anyway. And then it's all about finding the right match when it comes to coaching, because I'm one of many business coaches, and it is just about finding someone that resonates with you and that can support you. So it's like,
yeah. Thank you. And you mentioned you're autistic and ADHD, late diagnosed. So can you tell me a bit about your journey
Yeah.
in a few sentences?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not a few sentences, but yeah. So I was a teacher for a long time, not, for about 10 years, and I kind of always maybe understood more the children that were neurodivergent, and that led me into thinking, oh, hang on, maybe that's the reason why I've always felt a bit different and not quite right, and was doing the kind of analyzing being a human rather than actually being a human. So that then led me eventually to seek diagnosis or recognition of what I have for you. And yeah, it took about 3 years, and I got officially diagnosed in November 22. And then in terms of the ADHD, it's still not diagnosed, but it's a very strong possibility. I meet lots of ADHDers who are like, we're fine. We're fine.
Yeah,
That we welcome you,
yeah,
because
yeah,
I think, yeah, the diagnosis of the in the diagnosis of the autism, the specialist sort of said, let's assess you on this just a little bit, and it came out with a very strong possibility that I was ADHD. So I'm just awaiting for that official assessment to happen, but I think we're not in much doubt.
yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Thank you. Um, so today we're going to talk about mindset, but before we do that, I really want to find out one thing, and I know there are many, but one thing you're
Yeah.
passionate about. It's so nice to find out what people are passionate about.
Mm.
So, what are you passionate about?
Well, Mike, because I know that you know me, so you're just like, just one thing. Because I am passionate about being passionate about things. So I'm passionate about people, and I'm passionate about people and humans and what we're all passionate about in psychology and sociology and all the things. However, the one thing throughout my life has been story and narrative. So I'm a writer first and foremost. So storytelling and narrative. And at the moment, I'm passionate about rom-com because that's what I'm writing, and that's the kind of genre that I'm in. So yeah, I studied film I studied screenwriting when I did a master's degree, and kind of wanted to get into kind of film and theatre. But yeah, it's always been narrative for me. It's always been structure and character development and stuff. I love anything to do with that.
Yeah, and you're writing a rom-com at the moment, are you?
Yeah, I've written one and it's off with the agents. I say that like I have an agent. I don't have an agent. It's off with many agents to see if it can tempt them in. And it's getting more interest. I've had various bits of interest
Wow.
in my work over the years, but this has had a bit more interest than normal. So I'm like, oh, maybe the rom-com is the way forward. And it's certainly what I like to read. So whilst that is off doing the rounds, I'm now working on another one, because otherwise it's kind of a bit sad to be kind of sitting around waiting to see if anyone wants what you've written. So it's kind of, for me, it's always good to have one on the go that I'm like shiny new thing, and then one out there doing its sort of rejection round, because you get
Oh,
quite a lot of rejections every week when you start sending them out. You're like, okay.
yeah. So how do you cope with that rejection?
I mean, like initially, I was just thinking, initially, I didn't. Initially, I went to the National Film and Television School, and I did this master's in screenwriting. I had been working at the BBC as a runner. I was like involved in theatre and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this is it. I'm gonna walk out of there, have an agent. And I did not get an agent. And I was like, well, in that case, I shall not write. That will show them. And of course, the world just carried on.
Yeah.
So I sulked. And sulked is I was very sad about it. But I essentially was like, no, I shan't. And I then I moved to Brighton and then moved into theatre, and kind of was like actually putting our own work on, and working in theatre is a lot quicker and a lot more you know, you get stuff put on and it's a lot more instant feedback. So that then built up this reserve, and also built up the resilience. And then I just got older and just went, do you know what, it's a business, you know. And I got into business as well, so I kind of, I know that I'm a good writer. It's just, it's whether whether it's good for the market at that time, and whether I'm pitching it correctly, or whether it's just good enough in and of itself technically. So I've just gotten a bit older and gone, I just need to get good and get the right agent and get the right moment and get the right publisher. It's just a job. So yeah.
And thank you. It's really enlightening, because a lot of people have rejection and feel rejection about so many things, and it can be quite crippling at times. However, there are ways to kind of cope with it, aren't there? And to see it in a different light. So thank you for sharing that. So, mindset is something we've talked about. I recently interviewed Michelle for a book that I'm writing with my co-author, Kate Lane Toner, and we got talking about mindset, something we're both very passionate about. So we're going to talk about mindset for the rest of the session today. And yeah, mindset. What do you think, Michelle, are kind of common beliefs that us neurodivergent folk pick up and believe to be true along the way?
Well, I mean, I struggle to like not answer that in such a vast way of going, I don't have all the data. I'm not sure what all but I can only speak for myself, I suppose. And I before we were recording, we mentioned something about maths and like believing that we're not good at something. So I certainly thought for a long time that I was terrible at spelling, and I was terrible at maths. I was terrible at being a person. Like I just thought that I was failing at everything, but also like had to be perfect at all times. So yeah, and I kind of, my understanding is that is not only common in all people, but particularly common with neurodivergent people. But I have to say that my understanding of that is quite new, so I don't want to generalize in any way. But would you say that's kind of your understanding as well, that sort of perfectionist thinking, and thinking that you're sort of it might be failing and not humaning?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, what I was saying to you earlier was some beliefs that I picked up, and I've only just really kind of challenged, was I'm crap at maths. You know, I've developed, because I do struggle with maths, then I developed all of these fears on top of that, so that if anyone gave me maths to do,
Mm-hmm.
it would just be an absolute no, like complete avoidance. And the underlying belief was I'm rubbish at maths. But what I realised, I mean, I did some work in a primary school. I'm secondary teacher trained, but and I had to help some people with maths, year 6 maths, and I was like, oh. So I went and did some learning by myself on YouTube, and I was like, hold on, this is quite fun.
Yeah, yeah.
I can do this stuff. It's just I was never taught.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was just like, give them a booklet. They
Yeah,
can't do it. Just give them a booklet. And yeah, so it's like, oh, hold on, I can do maths.
yeah,
I just wasn't ever taught, and I do struggle with it. But that's
yeah,
different to being I'm crap at maths. So yes, beliefs like I'm stupid at maths, I'm stupid. Why can't
yeah,
I just be
yeah,
a normal adult, you know, and do
yeah,
adult things? And in my experience, a lot of my neurodivergent clients have similar thoughts and beliefs.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. As you were speaking, I was like, yeah, I definitely resonate with that around maths. I didn't go into teaching primary until I was, once I was such a weird, I was unemployed, and then they said, oh, you can do a course. So I did a painter and decorator. So, you know, the list of many certificates I've had. I'm a painter and decorator, but we did some maths on the side. I remember the lady in the maths class was like, because I was going, I don't like it, I don't want to do it. And she was going, okay, well, do it obviously in your own time, totally fine. And she was going through it, and it was basic. It was like pre-GCSE level maths, and I kept scoring like not 100%, but like 80-90%. And she was like, I think you might be good at it. And I was like, don't know my times table. So like still today, don't know. And she was like, but actually you're more, it's more like it's more like a forgetful thing. It's like I don't trust the numbers are the same every time I get to them, and so I have to start working it out from the beginning. But actually, when you look at higher level maths, I'm actually really quite good at that more abstract stuff, the more like how to play with formulas, and because that makes a lot more sense because it's like art.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so funny so the same with that, the same with spelling. I didn't spell well until I learned how to teach phonics, and I didn't get confident in maths until I learned how to teach maths at primary school. Didn't get confident in spelling until I learned how to use phonics, because I was like, oh, I can sound things out.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. And driving was all an issue, and still is for me. Like I'd learned to drive in 1997, and I passed in 97, and I have not driven since, because it's a lot of information, and I now know that's why I haven't driven since.
Yeah.
But all of which goes into that idea of the stories that we tell ourselves, and the narratives that we give ourselves, which is part of that mindset picture of going. Mindset is about acknowledging thoughts and then deciding if they are serving you, deciding, actually not taking your thoughts as solid truths,
Yeah.
but going, oh, this is what I'm thinking, and then deciding, is that true? And if it is, does it serve me anymore? And if it isn't, can I think something else? And being really like academic with your own thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the things I love about coaching myself, because you can't kind of get that message across. Well, you can, but you can't then do the work, I don't think, unless you're working with somebody on those things. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not think good thoughts,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't work like that, does it? So
No, yeah, there's such a lot in the kind of, there's a lot of toxic sort of positivity around, and that kind of almost spiritual bypassing around it. If you're grateful and you say that what you want, and then it'll just manifest, which is only part of, and I absolutely believe in gratitude, and I absolutely believe that if you manifest and take action, then
yes,
things
yes,
can happen. But that's just part of it. And if you're in this, and I think you can absolutely take that journey on your own, with your own mindset journey, with your own awareness of your thoughts and your own progress, but it's so much slower to take that journey. And it's absolutely fine if that's for someone to. I did a lot of work on my own before I became a coach and before I got coaching, but at the same time, it's slower, and it's a lot more shaky ground. If you're like, it's like being on a journey in the woods, right? If you're not with someone that knows the way or can like help guide you or walk with you, it's a lot more lonely when you stumble and fall over, and it's a lot more lonely when you kind of go up a dark path and then go, oh no, I have to go back the other way. And it just feels nicer to have someone on that journey with you. That's a nice metaphor, isn't it? I did well there.
I know, it's lovely. Your storytelling is coming to effect,
Yeah.
and but
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I did so
Yeah.
much work like throughout my whole life,
Yeah.
studying humans, working out their behavior, going
Yeah.
into teaching, working with those students whose behavior challenged, you
Yeah.
know, um, and then working with a coach for the last couple of years. I'm just like flying. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm flying because they're there through the great times and
Yeah.
the times where it's like slump,
Yeah.
um just talking through working out what you're feeling. That was something. Do you talk a lot
Yes.
about feelings with your
Yeah.
clients?
No idea. Didn't know that they were different to thoughts.
No.
I didn't like to, yeah, just the and I think my understanding is that's for neurodivergent people particularly hard sometimes, that feeling of feelings and the emotional articulation, but also just like, I think generally people, we don't talk, and I think it's changing now, but we don't generally talk enough about emotions, and that they're not thoughts. They are physiological. They're not just thoughts. Obviously, well, not obviously, but thoughts, to me, thoughts cause feelings. There's always a thought that leads to a feeling, but they can be separated. And a lot of the time I used to, and I've had anxiety and depression over the years, which is very real and true. However, a lot of the time I would think, when it's kind of a build up to anxiety, I would believe that I was anxious. So I would think that I was anxious, which would then lead to me checking to see if I was anxious. And if I wasn't anxious, I'd be like, oh, well, I should, but maybe I should be. And then that would sometimes lead to anxiety. Sometimes the anxiety would just come up on its own and I'd be like, that is there. But,
Yeah.
you know, like at other times, I would find that actually it was the thought of anxiety
Yeah.
rather than anxiety itself. So I was actually scared of the thought that I might be anxious rather than the anxiety itself. And yeah, once we separate that and we learn to, like, it sounds so trite to say feel our feelings, but once we learn to embody and feel our feelings without taking action and just experience what it is like to be, I'm like, I always wanted to be a human, and here I am having a human experience.
Yeah.
I actually am a human. How interesting. But like once we learn how to like embody our emotions and feel our feelings, then we can decide what we what action we want to take. You know, it's just huge. So yeah, that whole feeling part of it is so linked into that idea of, you know, mindset is such a broad term, and it's really about thought awareness and knowing that there is such a thing as a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, and there's intricacies within that, but that idea that we get to reframe our point of view and just be like, if this point of view, I believe this is true, is it serving me though? Probably not. Can I think something else? And that you're allowed to go, can I think something else? Maybe it'll be delusional. It actually makes me feel better. So is there a danger in that? Doesn't seem to be. Let's think that.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah. And it's just so powerful, isn't it? When you really realize, actually, I can choose different thoughts. These thoughts aren't serving me.
Mm,
Okay, if they're serving you, carry on with them, whatever they are. But if they're not, we have the power to change them. And that's what I want everyone to know,
yeah.
you know? And also, what do you think? Like, I think it's a good idea to change them when you're feeling good rather than just wait till you're feeling bad and then like desperately saying, I'm okay, I'm okay. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. So I think that goes into, yeah, absolutely. Because I think for me, it's like, I've seen the effects of consistent work on thoughts. So I journal every day, and not every single day, you know, some days I miss it and that's okay. But I aim to journal every day, and I journal in a quite a formulaic way. I use a method from a coach called Julia Wells, which is the sandwich method. So and she got it from, I believe, Carolyn Elliott from Existential Kink. And it's around bragging, a page of bragging, a page of fears, and a page of reframing. And that's just the very best. That in no way describes it to, you know, like, I
Yeah,
definitely simplify it and simplify it. So it's just essentially a habit forming way of hearing my own thoughts, knowing what I'm thinking, not judging any of them as they're coming out, and then deciding which ones I would like to flip and reframe or think in a different way. And those, by doing that every day, you get a bit like used to the language of it. So you get used to saying, And like I did it just a second ago, I heard myself do it, go, and that's okay. So I don't know, like I am, because I'm a business coach, it's all business for me. So I am not getting engagement on my post, and that's okay. So, or you could reframe them with like, I decide, or I trust, or I'm willing to believe statements. They're really useful for when you're like, I don't believe any of this. You can say, I'm willing to believe that
Yeah.
people will see my posts or buy my thing. Um, all of which is to say, when you're doing that just regularly, it means when you're in it, you are more likely, though not always, but more likely to go, all of these thoughts are happening, I'm feeling awful. And when you sort of acknowledge, because I think it's really important to acknowledge all feelings. So just when you've acknowledged all of that horribleness and gone, this feels horrible, rather than pushing it away just to sort of
Yeah.
flip what you're thinking, you can have that practice of going, what could I be thinking? And these habitual thoughts tend to have more power then, and they come and go, I decide I get to do what I want today. I
Yeah.
decide, or I'm willing to believe this, I won't feel this awful forever.
Nice.
Immediately takes that pressure off, you know. So yeah, I think it's so important to have a sort of regular practice. It doesn't have to be every day, but I say to clients, I would love it if it was, but that's obviously, I have a lot of time privilege. But yeah, if you're able to have that practice in place to just get used to hearing the thoughts and having less like emotion attached to them, and then when big emotions come, you can decide whether you've experienced that enough and you're ready to move on to something else.
Yeah. I
Really
love
helpful.
I love the willing to believe because it's like a
Mm,
stepping stone, isn't it? It can feel scary to say I believe, or not
mhm.
even scary, like I don't
Yeah,
believe, you
yeah,
know, but
yeah,
I'm willing to. It's like a little tiny little step in the
yeah.
direction, isn't it? I love that.
I got that. Yeah, I love that so much. It helps a lot with like body image stuff as well. As I say, I coach on business, but the world and our human experience is so holistic, then different things come up, especially if you're getting more visible online and things. And that idea of, I think if you're endlessly going, if I just think positive thoughts, I'll believe it. Cara Lowenthal talks about, oh, is it ladder thoughts? Something about, if you're not willing to go, I am a sexy goddess who can be on camera doing anything. If that feels too far, you're going to punish yourself. You might punish yourself or tell yourself you're bad and wrong for not believing this thing. So that willingness to believe becomes like a stepping stone, like you say, like a step on the ladder towards believing something different. And that can be, there was, I think Cara Lowenthal talks about, instead of, starting with, I am a beautiful goddess, you can go, I have a human body.
Yeah.
Until
Yes.
that doesn't hurt. And until you believe that,
Yeah.
I have a human body.
Who is that? Cara.
Cara Lowenthal, which I cannot spell. She has a podcast with a swear in it, so it's I'll not swear, but it's unbeep your brain, or yeah, I think it's just unf your brain, I think. But
Okay.
yeah,
Cool. Thank you.
yeah, fab. There's so many amazing teachers, and it's like coaching is like philosophy in a lot of ways. There's so many amazing people out there just
Yeah.
sharing knowledge and mindset and personal development tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we finish off, I just wanted to go back to when you said about journaling every day, and
Mm.
it doesn't happen every day, and that's okay. That was lovely because I got a feeling some people will be like, again, a belief system, which is genuinely difficult. Some people say, I've got ADHD, I can't do that every day.
Yeah.
Which, it comes from a genuine place. However, is that helpful? So,
Mm.
what would you say to someone that was like, oh, that sounds great, but I just can't do it every day?
Yeah. That's definitely a conversation that comes up with my clients. I'd say it's about building self-trust over time, essentially. So
Yeah,
the everyday words is like, whatever, that's it's like, what, I'm going to do it till the rest of time. What if I no? So I like to do it every day. So, but I don't even think I've journaled today, and I can feel my brain being a bit like because I feel like I haven't got all my thoughts out and they're all still up there. So even I say every day and it's not. But with clients, it's around building in self-trust by going, okay, so what can you commit to? I'm fascinated with habit forming and what that means, as you know, how to form a habit and how to yeah, just embed things to become habit forming. I absolutely love that notion, and it can obviously be good and bad,
Yeah.
but yeah, so with clients it's about, okay, what can you commit to? Is it once a week? Is it 3 times a week? Is it a specific time, or is it a specific amount of time? Can it move throughout the week, or does it have to be first thing in the morning or last thing at night? And then also the idea of physical journaling works for me, but that's not available to all people. So like it may be that just speaking aloud is useful to
Mm.
follow a pattern. So it's more like an outward meditation. It could be actually just, for me, meditation doesn't work because there's a lot. I mean, it works, but it's not as fulfilling because I'm kind of off doing other things in my brain all the time. So it's good to have a physical practice. But we have different things available to us. So whether it's dancing in the morning to imagine, to visualize the things and the fears, or whether it's saying it, or whether it's physically writing it down, or whether it's painting it, or whether it's, you know, so using your body as a way to connect with your thoughts and having a practice, I think is really useful just overall. But yeah, I think that belief of I can't commit to a thing, often we're all very perfectionist thinking, and if it's not perfect, then won't do it. So I work with people around perfectionist thinking as well. So it's that idea of, okay, so what will be good enough?
Yeah.
And what can we commit to? What happens if we don't do it? What happens? What will we say to ourselves? What are you going to say to yourself if it doesn't happen? Is that out the window, or does it just happen tomorrow? Like,
Yeah.
what are we going to put in place?
Yeah. So it's really good to have those conversations, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
perfectionism, the all and nothing thinking can be changed, which
yeah,
is exciting as well.
yeah,
Thank you so much. So, gosh, so much stuff. Thank you for sharing. It's really, really inspiring, really helpful, and I know that people will, get a lot from our conversation today. So thank you. But yeah, what have you got going on business wise, and how can people find you?
yeah. Well, tons for Ironclad Creative. We're at ironcladcreative.org. So we've got an online platform that people can join, or we're doing lots of things in Brighton or online as well for creativity all the time. And then for coaching, I have just started a podcast of my own called Resting Biz Face, which is all about resting and relaxation, and also all of this kind of stuff around mindset and business development and sales and marketing, all the fun stuff, and the way to make your business more about what you want than replicating old corporate hustly patterns. So that's Resting Biz Face. That gets released every Tuesday. And then on the 19th of June, we start the third round of the Upstart Club, which is my group coaching program. So it's for business owners and service providers to get some group coaching, teaching, accountability around, again, marketing, mindset, business development, and kind of their business ownership. So that's 6 weeks. So yeah, 6 weeks of business coaching in a group. And yeah, that's called the Upstart Club. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's it. I think that's everything.
Great. Well, thank you so much. We'll put some links in the post as well, so people can find out where you are and get in touch. Thank you so much, Michelle. Really, really lovely stuff. It was great to have you on.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been lovely. It's been lovely to chat. Thank you.
Thank you.